Okay, welcome everyone at 6:04. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please stand with us, do our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence as we think about those who've gone before us. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Trustee Downey.
Here.
Trustee Pat.
Here.
Trustee Bushner.
Oh, present.
Trustee Ryan.
Here.
Trustee O'Malley.
Here.
And Trustee Sprague is absent. She
In
is-
In
California.
California, her son's wedding. Outstanding.
Hopefully not in wine country.
Well, maybe.
Also present Attorney John Patterson and Andrew Gilchrist.
Yep. All right, thank you all. I have a whole slew of announcements and updates I want to give. I want to start with some of the simpler things. Fall leaf pickup schedule. Start date for leaf pickup will be October 23rd and will run through November 17th. All leaves and only leaves are to be put on the curb. Note, no branches, flowers, and other foreign objects shall be in the leaf pile, or the leaves and others described will be left at curbside. Residents will have to take bagged leaves to the transfer station. If the village removes the leaf pile containing the above, the village will charge for the equipment and time to pick them up. So basically, just do leaves. And that's from the highway station. And is that information online yet, or we're about to put that online?
I think I put that.
Okay. If we think it's online, we're going to actually entertain a motion to publish in just a moment. Actually, if we could right now, if I could entertain a motion to publish that information.
Motion.
Ben? Second, I think Bob Downing. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you.
Just one thing Neil wanted to reiterate, to make sure there was leaves only, not flowers, any type of plants,
Yeah.
because they bind up the machine and it causes a lot more, it takes a lot more time.
Okay. Leaves only, no branches, no flowers. All right, thank you. Also, notice the transfer station hours will be changing for the winter season. November 28th will be the last Tuesday it will be open until springtime. The transfer station will continue to operate on Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Let me do this right now. Should I wait on that? All right, wait on that. Okay, a couple other events to mention. The first one, which I think we have a motion for at some point later to approve, is there's going to be an event between Little Sprouts and Hasty 3 putting on their first annual trunk or treat. I have pictures of some sample decorations of what they do. The basic premise is, you guys can pass these down and take a look at them, is that everyone lines their car up and they open up the back trunk and use that as a decoration spot similar to your porch, and it provides a good safe spot for kids to go trick-or-treating. The event is currently scheduled for October 28th from 6 to 8 with setup an hour prior. We're going to actually do it in the Woods Park. What we're going to do is we're going to have them park the cars in a line starting behind the gazebo as the Eberly Road goes up, winding around back that way so they can start the gazebo and walk through the line that way. And that way, if they have more than, I think they already have about 20 cars that already know are committed to doing this. If it gets bigger, we can get another easily 30, and that's a good contained spot near the restrooms. And I want to thank Neil and Mark for their feedback on that location. Do we have a motion here to approve this?
I'll make it.
Could you make that motion?
Certainly.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you. Did you get who made all that? Fantastic. Okay. On the more unfortunate side of things, I did receive a letter, and it's already been reported in the newspaper from Oak Mitsui, just basically telling us that they are going to be closing their location where they work, one Mechanic Street, building number 2. January 2nd, 2018 is the date of the first termination of employment that is expected to result from this closure. Indeed, virtually all employees working at the facility will be affected by this closure. At the same time, 20 employees are expected to be impacted by this action. Obviously, not the kind of news we want right now, and we feel awful for all those employees. I'm going to pass this note around if you guys want to read it. I just want to make sure that is known. So as I was preparing for updates, and I realized that the list of updates was just getting longer and longer, I have a lot of information to present, and I'll go with a bunch of updates first, and then when I get to grants, I'll talk about sort of the format and why. I do want to give an update on flood cleanup. We have repaired the sinkhole that was on Main Street in Stevenson's driveway. That's repaired. The park by Old St. Mary's building is also done, reseeded, and the grass is already growing. There's been additional work on that aqueduct that caused the sinkholes along various parts of Classic Street as well. The Hall Street backyards are, in a sense, as good as they're going to be right now. They're safe for the immediate, but it's in no way a long-term solution. I did recently have a meeting with some officials from DEC, Department of Homeland Security in New York State, as well as with members of BNL. And I think, Mark, you were in that meeting as well, correct? I can't remember. I've had so many meetings. It felt like things were working in a good direction, and I'm sort of more optimistic that we're going to find some sort of help and long-term solution to this. It's still being pursued, and I have another meeting coming up, I think sometime in the next week. I just have to double back with the state to figure that out. But we're still moving on that. Neil and his crew have gotten us to a good spot in the immediate where we can take some storms, but we also still need to have an absolute solution to this, because what we have right now is just not going to work, especially long term. Update on Gillespie Street. This was after hearing some concerns from residents and speaking with Twin Rivers. There is now a gate that is locked, often locked. I think it's actually locked quite a bit, preventing people from using Gillespie as a cut-through road to the Danforth Street side. This restores the original decision that was made by the village board in the past. I've also recently heard that some think the gate is locked all the time, which would increase the traffic flow on Danforth Street side, but I'm not sure if that's correct, so I'll follow up with them this week.
It was locked today when I was there.
During the workday?
Yep.
All right, so I'll follow up and we'll get that straightened off, because it's closer to what it's supposed to be, but it's still not quite what it's supposed to be. And if they want to do that, they have to pursue that.
Yeah, but actually the guy that I was meeting there was using that as a shortcut to come in. He said, I didn't realize there was a gate there. I said, that's why they put the gate there. It says people like you are using the...
And I think that I've been speaking with Neil about getting a sign on...
And the Gillespie.
Yeah, on the front corner of Gillespie, so people know. Just that one guy would cut his bushes back. They're mine, sorry.
Mark,
Update on
take
the...
care of that.
Oh, God, yeah.
The John Street sewer update. Last meeting as well, we had a resident appeal to the board on behalf of the owner of the 9 and 11 John Street, who's been working to get his business open on the first floor. I'm glad to report that the job is done. The work was done and agreed on in a 50-50 cost share between the village and the owner, which was based on some past precedents with a similar situation that happened years ago, and we instated a policy of paying 50% of his share up front, which is 25% of the estimate, and then the rest of it when it was completed. And not only was it finished and not easily done, but well done, but it actually came in under the estimate, which is even better news. So, and I think today actually Mark granted the CO for the pizza business, so I am looking forward to having pizza there.
Hopefully it's free.
Today.
All right, another update on the Jackson Street Playground. Last meeting I mentioned that our insurance carrier came and reviewed all of our facilities, and everything checked out in the village except the Jackson Street Playground. There were numerous issues cited, them specific to equipment safety. I'm glad to report that Jerry McAuliffe and his community service crew have addressed the majority of these issues. We met last week, and he went over this weekend to take care of a bunch of things. Additionally, Peg Bacchitis, Rick Stoll, and others names I don't have done an exceptional job with the Jackson Street Park in the past, bringing in a lot of money via fundraising, doing a lot of work on the equipment, and likely spending a lot of their own money in the process. They definitely deserve our thanks and gratitude for all they've done to this beautiful park. At the same time, I think it is now time that the village take on a bigger responsibility in this park on a regular basis, and that's something that I'm going to be looking to as we shift into looking at next year's budget. Fortunately, I have a trustee who's also in charge of parks, right, Brian? He's like, yep, I have enough to do. All right. But no, it's a great part. It's an asset to the village. I know my kids have grown up there, so I love it. All right, an update on the sewer project with a whole bunch of good news in here as well. The sewer project is a large project that began several years ago with the goal of updating our antiquated sewer equipment. This has been something that the village and the MRB group has been working on for a few years now, and the end result will bring a brand new pump station on 22 Lyman Street that will be adequately sized to handle the flow, a brand new force main, which is a sewer pipe under pressure, and will also rehab many lines throughout the village. The main prep for this project was initiated over a year ago, and has hit a few delays in that time. Over the past several months, we've ironed out many of these delays, including getting the property at 22 Lyman Street from the county. At this point now, after a great deal of easement work and other work by both John Patterson, Andy stepped into the fray now, and MRB, we are down to only 2 remaining things we're trying to get taken care of prior to us beginning this project in 2018. And we need to get it done by January 2018 because that's when the bids ideally go out for the work. The remaining 2 situations are as follows. The first is the final easement, the only one we need. It's behind Route 22, behind those empty lots as you're heading up towards the Old St. Mary's before you round the corner. It's actually a path along the Greenway. And the second one is a written agreement from Pan Am reiterating what they've already approved. Without both of these items in hand, it gets kind of risky and a little bit wary to proceed, so we want to make sure this is done as soon as possible. Something we're going to be working on in the coming months, in particular tonight. In terms of the Pan Am one, I actually just got a voicemail from my contact at Pan Am who doesn't foresee a problem with getting that paperwork done, and they actually need something from us, which makes it even easier and likely, so we should hopefully have that in the next coming days. And the guy who has to do that wasn't in today, so hopefully I'll get to speak with him tomorrow. In terms of the easement that we're missing, I'm going to hold off and wait until we get to that part of this agenda later this evening. The cost of this sewer project is around 3.6. I think it's closer to 3.79 or something like that. What's that? 3.79 million. But we recently heard via a press release from the governor and also a couple phone calls to my voicemail, which I just found about 2 hours ago, from both the governor's office and from Senator Marchione's office, that the village is set to receive $948,000 through the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act, specifically for this project, which means that's basically a quarter of the cost of this project. So that's a huge plus for us. And that's going to make things a lot easier down the line. So sincere thanks to the governor's office, and I will likely have more information on that at our next meeting, since that just happened. And as I hit my final update on various grants, as I was listing these out, and as I was listing out the various updates before, I realized that there's just so many things going on right now. It's like a juggler trying to juggle 10 to 12 different balls at the same time. That I felt like we needed some sort of a checklist or an approach on how to make sure we don't let these things fall off the radar. And even when we were talking about some of the grants we're working on, we realized there's something else that we need to get done tonight. So a quick brief update on all the grants we have going on, so everyone knows. And you guys feel free to ask me any questions on it. I'll answer what I know. But as I was doing this, I discovered I think there's 11 grant updates that I have for everything going on, just to put it in perspective. I know Brian is involved in a few of these, so anyone feel free to chime in. The first is a local waterfront revitalization plan. It's a grant that was awarded for $37,000, $37,500. Project cost being $75,000 total, so it's a 50% grant, 50% local match. Some of that local match will actually come from one of the Greenway grants I'll discuss later. To describe this project, the scope of service in the plan specifically says this. The plan will focus on 4 key areas: enhancing physical and visual public waterfront access opportunities, revitalizing downtown areas, protecting community character, and improving the ability of the community to take advantage of river-related tourism. Later it says, the project will culminate in a strategic plan for controlled enhancements to the Hoosick riverfront access, downtown and neighborhood revitalization, and unique and appropriate new development. And this is a grant that we're working with Fells, Barton, and LaJudas on. There's the 2015 Greenway grant. Now, this is actually not related to our Greenway Trail. This is a separate thing. This is a land use inventory from the Hudson River Valley Greenway. This was awarded for $5,000 with a $5,000 match, and this $10,000 funding is going to be put into use into the LWRP. So just a reminder, this has nothing to do with the Greenway Trails. It's a separate thing, but this money will go into the 50% local match that we have to do for the LWRP. And this is also through B&O.
Just to clarify, that's from the Hudson River Greenway, which
Conservatory.
Which is very confusing because they do grants for all sorts of things, but their name makes it sound like it's Greenway. Just to clarify, that's why.
Yep. The third grant update is the Snow Street Water Main Grant. This is a $350,000 SAM grant. This is a no match one, so this is fully funded. Right now, we have sent the contract back, and we are awaiting the signature from them. And I think we have some business to do with that. So later in the meeting, when we get near the end, with permission, I'll ask to do one thing in regards to that grant. The fourth one is the $1.1 million SAM grant for the new highway garage. We received this also in early 2017. I think both the mayor was working with Senator Marchione's office to get these to happen. Now this one is fully executed, which means both the state and the village have signed off on this. We're in the very early phases of this, and we actually have a little bit of business to do with this tonight to keep this moving forward. The Woodsbrook Study Grant of 2016, CDBG, it's a community planning grant. This was awarded $25,000 with a local match of, I think it was about, was it $650 for the town and village each, something like that? The town and village went together on this one.
Yes.
This is the one we just completed. That, by the way, that binder is available in the office, all 500 pages of it. Nice light reading. We did recently apply for the implementation of the study, which would be under the CDBG Public Infrastructure Program, and that's the maximum possible award of $900,000. That's not new news. We talked about that last time, but we don't expect to hear about that until December. And this one also is with Barton & Lejudas. We have an engineering planning grant, EPG, to evaluate potential upgrades needed to address and remove PFOA from the leachate at the landfill, as well as the operational waste water that comes out of the water treatment plants. That's a $35,000 grant, and that one is ongoing through MRB as well. Another one that we just applied for is a grant to add ultraviolet treatment to the wastewater treatment plant for the purposes of additional disinfection. This is also an engineering planning grant, EPG, through EFC with MRB, just to throw out all the acronyms there. We haven't yet heard, and again, we don't expect to hear until December.
How much is that one worth?
Dave, do you know how much that could be worth?
I'm guessing there's like a minimum of 30,000, so it's going to be somewhere probably in the range of 30,000.
Okay. Yeah.
Vast.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll figure that out. I mean, we're still waiting to hear from December, and I think that's one of those things where in 3, 4, 5 years, the speedies requirements are going to have that, so we're going for it now, so when that time rolls in, we're all set for that. Now, there's 4 Greenway Trail grants. There's a 2006 one, which we just closed out. Was it last meeting, Brian?
2 meetings, yeah.
2 meetings ago? So that's the one, but that one's done. There's a 2007 Greenway grant. This is a trail grant available through November of 2018. And if I have this right, Brian, it's a $200,000 grant with a 50-50 match between, so $100,000 from the grant, $100,000 from
Correct.
the village, and we have $125,000 left to spend.
I think 175,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roughly.
And
So
that was the environmental protection grant. It was written for specific uses, canoe access, trash receptacles, a parking lot. I think land acquisitions in there as well. I have to double check that one.
okay. All right. Thank you. So just something to keep in mind that we have there. There's also a 2010 Greenway grant. It's all that one is from the Hudson River Valley Greenway Trails Conservatory. I wonder if that's the
5K for the.
That one was a 2015. That may be the same one. That's why we're doing this. And the final one was a 2015 Greenway grant that we're still waiting on the federal government to finance the state to.
Yep.
And that is intended to be used to create a parking lot on the northern end.
Yes.
So those are all the grants. And as you can see, it's a lot to keep our mind wrapped around. So what I'm thinking of doing is basically just leaving a bunch of them on the next several agendas so that we can quickly say, here's what's happened with this, nothing's going on with that, we're still waiting on that, so everyone's sort of in the loop. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. I know it makes the meetings a little bit longer, but with just there's so much going on, I want to make sure that's there. Okay. Thanks for bearing with all my speaking. We are now at the people to be heard section. If you would like to be heard, just state your name and address. Just to get an idea, how many people would like to speak tonight, just for time purposes? 1, 2, 3. Okay. 4-minute limit is fine. Would you like to go first?
Hello, everybody. My name is Colleen Doyle, and I'm from the Cheney Library, and I am here on behalf of the Cheney Library. My address is 3 Scott Lane, Crucifels, New York. The town of trustees of the Board of Trustees of the Cheney Library is soliciting support to increase the public funding for the library. Our current tax levy of $45,000 was established in 2001 and has not been increased for 17 years. The expenses continue to increase while revenue has declined, which has resulted in yearly operating deficits. The library cannot continue to provide or increase the services the community has come to expect without a stable revenue source. The trustees have petitioned the Board of Elections to include a proposition to increase the public support by $50,000, which would be a total tax levy of $95,000 annually. And we would like to take this time to thank all of you who signed the library's petitions, allowing the library the opportunity to include the tax levy increase on the ballot. The $95,000 tax levy would meet the library's current operating expenses. This may seem like a large increase, but it results in only 86 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. The increase will allow the library to support the changing technological needs of the patrons and address the needed structural repairs to the historical building. If you would like additional information or have not been to the library lately, please visit us or visit us on our website, which is www.cheneylibrary.org.
All right. Thank you. Next.
Hi, Jean Andrew, One Any Place. Mayor, you and I had a conversation about a month ago, and it was based on some rumors going around the village that I kind of don't believe in rumors. I want to come to the source and get some real information. And it's regarding the police department. And I'm looking at the local budget this year. It's about $271,000, which is roughly about 26% of the village budget. Some of the concerns I've heard have been the fact that we have a budget where the police chief is paid for a full 40-hour working week, but is here 1 or 2 nights a week. And I'm trying to just get clarification on that. Is that true? Is it not? Was it part of a contract of previous mayors, you know, that with all of the part-timers that are here, maybe we need to go to like a more full-time type of situation? And I just wanted to kind of get some feedback from you, what you were able to research, because at the time you didn't really know and needed some time to check into that, because I'm just hearing a lot of things, and I'd really rather have it coming from the horse's mouth, so to speak, as to what we are doing about any of this. Thanks.
Well, thank you. We're actually, and I've had some conversations with Bobby and Kevin as well. This ties into not specifically what you're asking, but we're looking into that as well. I don't know of any situation like that, because from my understanding, and Bob, feel free to chime in with anything, is that you're here on a regular basis 3 days a week.
There's 3 nights here, 10-hour shifts that I need after work. And then 10 hours of administrative work that's being done. Investigations. We're short. I'm working Saturdays and nights here, filling in with the officers, and I don't have a shift. We're covering when there's one officer on and making sure. So that it does add up. Legitimate concern. I'm saying completely. I'm here on the afternoon shift because that's the easiest shift to fill when I'm more vacant, where there's a need. The day shift is an officer working the day shift. So I'm here on the evening hours, but 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. My cell phone is with me constantly, and it rings off the hook. And a lot of people, other than officers, have my number. Residents have my number. They call me, and I respond to their needs and stuff.
So you're physically here 40 hours a week?
40 hours a week.
Okay, yeah.
You'll see me here on Saturdays. You'll see me here sometimes on Sundays. Sometimes if you want to come out on midnights, you'll see me here on a midnight shift. And in the daytime as well, I'll come
Well,
up if
yeah,
there's
I
a
know
need.
you have
In the
another
daytime,
job.
if there's things needed in the daytime, emergency situations, I'll respond. If there's an emergency just now, although I'm working, if I wasn't working here, they would call me and I would have responded up to that situation that occurred there tonight.
Okay, so have you've adjusted your other job?
My other job is adjusted fine.
Yeah, but it's good here,
Fortunately,
no, because I hate rumors and I'd rather just. come to
Rumors
the
are only as
source.
good as the person they come from, so I'm glad you're in front of all of us and we can sit and discuss that.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if everyone heard that because there's motorcycles. You said 3 10-hour shifts and 10 hours administrative work.
Yes.
Okay, 40, great. Thank you. But I think there's a larger conversation of how it works with all the part-time officers, and that's something that we've been talking about, and we're going to continue to follow up on. I think even now we have another officer who's resigning, so that's something we're also looking at right now.
Well, we can, when we get back into my report there, we can explain openly
Yeah,
what some of the situations we're up against right now.
certainly.
Well, I mean, we know it's a revolving door and we're a training ground, we all know that. How do we fix it?
Yeah, we have some ideas. That's what we're looking at. So thank you. You also want to speak?
Yeah, Ms. Muskie, 107 Main Street. I just had two things. Would it be possible to put a sign on the municipal building door when you change where the meeting is? We went to the municipal building for the meeting tonight.
Which door?
The front
The
door.
front door? There was a sign there.
We didn't
Yes,
see one.
signs.
Huh.
Okay. And my second thing is I came about probably 1 to 2 years ago, and I think I spoke with you, Bobby, when I came. They were talking about the new signs that were put up for snow removal, the hours and stuff. And you said there's some on Main Street, and I said, no, there isn't. You were gonna look into it. There still aren't any on Main Street. The question was, is that because they couldn't put them in at the time because the ground was too hard? And I don't know if that was 1.5 years or 2 years ago, but Main Street gets a lot of traffic, as you know, and when the snow builds up there, it makes it more possible for the highway crew to clear appropriately.
I will ask Neil. He's not here tonight because he's at grand jury duty. Yeah.
Yes,
And
because
if somebody,
grand jury duty.
who would someone speak to if they needed, their culvert repaired? And their culvert under their driveway and along their yard?
We have a couple culverts that, in particular, up on what's the
On Rogers.
yeah, Rogers Avenue, that we're waiting on the state DOT. They offered to help us out, and Neil said, "Why don't you guys take care of that?" So that's something we're waiting on. But if there's any culvert situation like that, call Neil.
5?
Do you have some that you know of, Pam? Okay. Well, what are they? You can tell me right now. That's fine.
Well, I mean, my son-in-law's been asking for 2 years. He's wanting to put a new driveway in his driveway because the culvert is.
Where
it's
are
going
you
under
on
Stratford
Saratoga Street?
And where
Is that
they
in the village?
have where it goes under his driveway and then it goes along his property, the road is starting to kind of cave in a little bit, and all that's filling in, so all this water runoff is going down the hill, all undermining the.
So,
the
so
whole
the
yard
culverts need to be
saturated.
ditched probably on that side of Saratoga?
Yes,
Okay.
and so, I think he's been
No
waiting
side
for
of
a
this?
while,
Mhm.
and we know that with the emergencies that have occurred, they take precedence, but,
Yeah, because it's actually, someone contacted me on Upper Saratoga Street, which is in the town,
yeah.
about the same issue about, and I did actually talk to Bill about that. I sent Bill pictures, so.
So he's just been waiting, now
Yep.
he probably won't get his driveway done till next year, but he's been waiting for a while, and I didn't know. But where that runoff goes, it comes right down the street, and it goes right over his driveway into the
All right.
yard there.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Marion Stevens, Weiler Avenue. I've got a few things. Horrible that I'm retired.
because needless to say, I walk my husband and I walk the walkway every day, and we're concerned we're seeing some destruction on this lower walkway, like the bench being tipped, branches, trees being knocked over the pathway. I mean, Harold and I have fixed the bench every time, and the littering that's happening there. So we hate to see something because it's a beautiful walkway. We enjoy
On the upper end,
trails.
Marion?
This one up
North
here,
end,
yep. You know, so we walk that every day, but we're finding it more towards the Wednesday, Thursday, that these, like I said, I think we've done the, lifted the bench up 3 times already.
The patrols have been going down there.
Hmm?
Patrols go down once a day, they drive down through.
Yeah.
One of the arrests that we made last month was a result of that, some activity that was going on down there. Okay? Last month, on this side over here, we had an arrest that was made down there with some homeless people that moved in down there that we responded down to.
Well, I just feel
No,
bad because,
no,
like I said, it's a very nice area.
It's beautiful. And
It's a wonderful walk, and, you know, our dogs, we walk there, and, you know, so it's just a concern, because I hate to see something get trashed, or that's been provided for our community. And then one thing I would suggest, and I think I heard it in one of the grants, is possibly a garbage, I know you have a garbage receptacle up by the bridge area, by the bench, but maybe something, even a sign, no littering. I know there's no sign there that says no littering on the trail. And then maybe, you know, a garbage can in and out of the trail might help. I don't know.
Just to give so the Greenway Committee tries to do a lot of that stuff independently. Jeremy Colliff's crew has been really great about picking
And,
up a lot of litter.
and like I said, I'm not insulting this. Harold and I, as we go along, we pick up the litter too.
Yeah, no, it's great. A lot of citizens do. I mean, the southern thing has an issue with dog dropping, so better to step in the
Yeah.
wrapper than other things. They're both issues. Part of the problem is Neil's crew is they're
Oh,
maxed.
and like I said-
So having like above garbage cans or even bags to pick up waste, but we don't have, unless we could start a volunteer group that I would love to have to go each leg of it, you know, and grab the garbage and whatever the
Well, it's
case.
just that,
would
you
be
know,
really
I'm
great.
just thinking that maybe sometimes the people, you know, see a garbage can along the
Mhm.
route, they might use it instead of it being, you know, thrown on the ground, just like I said. I mean, there was a whole pizza thrown on the walkway last week, that, you know, we got our dog away from it because we wouldn't, but I mean, that's, what I'm saying, you're getting pretty good litter there. So I'm not, you know, it's only concern because it's a beautiful walkway. That's number 1. Number 2, I have brought this up in the past, but it's a new government here, so I will bring it up. I am concerned about going up Weiler Avenue. We have a section of Weiler Avenue that they're able to park on. Most of the streets have, you park on one side only. Weiler Avenue, this hill, you have a section, because they have rentals there, that there is parking on one part here. It's right at the knoll of the hill. And then there's no parking, and then there's parking over here. There is not really enough room for 2 cars to get up that road if you go up it. And now the guy that parks there has this great big huge truck. It's like one of those electrical trucks, so it's wider than a normal vehicle. And my neighbors have even, you know, we meet, and I say, I'm going down to the village meeting. That was one of their concerns, because it's right at the middle of the hill. You know, people that go up there are familiar with it. But you have to be really careful, and it's even more of a concern with winter coming, because once you get the start, you want to get up there. And if you can't get up there, it makes it very difficult.
That is a dangerous spot there. And
It is
especially at
very
nighttime when it's
dangerous.
dark, it's hard to see that truck sitting there.
And it's right at the peak of that hill. I mean, I know because it's like the hill that you walk, it's the horrible hill to walk, and it's like a straight walk up to it, and that's the peak, it's horrible.
I know previous boards have made some accommodations for some of the apartments there. There's some parking signs there, I think. on
Yeah,
that.
there is, but that's the problem is you've got parking on this side, then you've got them, that they can park over here, and there's not enough room for 2 cars to get through.
We should look into it.
Definitely,
All right.
definitely.
And the last one real quick?
Last thing is, that we are concerned that we do know there's a lot of road work being done. We've had water mains break on our road. Is, paving going to be done on these roads at all to fix
Yes,
them?
he hasn't even,
Okay.
he hasn't began to start patching.
Yeah.
He
No,
just
it's
finished,
just
he
that-
just finished all the flood issue, so
Oh,
yes.
and I
It's
like
on the
this
report
then.
right here, so yes, all the spots that have been dug up will be patched.
Okay.
And there's a couple other patches I know he's trying to get as well. I think that's
And
in
I'm
the
not
next coming
complaining,
weeks.
it's just that, again.
No, it's all right.
No, you have a legitimate, I go by there every day, you have a legitimate, it's right, I know, down right where they had the 2 water main breaks, up on
Yeah.
upper and mid, lower.
All
Yep.
right.
All right, thank
I
you.
think that's it.
Did you also want to speak?
Sure.
Yes, I'm Dan Doyle, I live on 3 Scott Lane. I wasn't planning to say anything, this was totally unprepared, and I'll try to be quick, but you brought up the gate on Gillespie Street. Originally, when they proposed the whole project there, they had a meeting with the different neighbors, and one of the concerns was traffic. And the compromise was it would be one-way traffic in and out. Now there's a gate there, so they doubled the traffic on.
Right.
The biggest problem is there's a lot of pedestrians, there's older residents from the Danforth, there's people in wheelchairs going back and forth. Could something be done about sidewalks and maybe crosswalks there?
Can look into it. You're not the first person to bring that up to me.
I was on the zoning board back when that was approved, and
Yeah.
I think there was stipulations on different ways to get in and get out of that area, so
Yeah,
we
but
can look back at the,
And they always originally had a sign, but it was supposed to be one way.
Right.
They weren't supposed to come out. And the traffic goes, there's a lot of traffic on Danforth Street.
Yeah.
And like I say, there's not as many kids as there were back then, but there are a lot of, the residents from the Danforth, they're supposed to be, semi-independent, people who go out and walk.
a lot of the employees walk back and forth to work there
And
as
there's a
well.
lot of employees, they walk, and a lot of times in the dark, they're coming in and out at night, 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
If there was a sidewalk there, it would just be a lot safer for people.
All right. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes.
Excuse me for not standing up. My name is Juanita Steno. Have you had any update on the situation on Hall Street, York, or are we just in limbo?
Unfortunately, we're still in limbo, but I had a meeting last week that went really well with Keith Gertz of DEC, who's the Region 4 supervisor, as well as some people from Homeland Security New York State. And additionally, I have another meeting scheduled sometime this week. I'm waiting to hear from the governor's office about it. We're working on trying to figure out what we can do. We don't have what we need to get to the solution that the village needs. I don't have anything substantial yet, but we continue to have more meetings with the state, and we continue to get closer to what I'm hoping is a solution. So I'm hoping in the coming weeks we have something really substantial to have happen, because that's what we need.
Because my home is very, very cold. I have no electricity. I have no heat. And it's gonna cost me thousands of dollars to repair it, because I can't go in a home that's got mold, the condition that I have.
Right.
Therefore, what do I do with my home? Do I spend all that money fixing it, not living in it, and then can't sell it? Who wants to live on Wall Street with that bill?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. Nobody wants to live there.
Understood. Yeah.
So my house is no good, it's done. So I lost my home. Because nothing was done with that darn brick all these years. 25, 30 years was incoming, and not one blessed thing was gonna be done. And right now, I'm so angry. I'm angry at the village, because we have come here, the trustees have just looked at us as though we were crazy people. They kept telling us, those walls are yours. We couldn't touch those walls. The Corps of Engineers would have been right down our back. And we have many, many sinkholes, but nobody came and fixed our sinkholes. But when they had the flood, Everybody had sinkholes, you came and you fixed them all. But you wouldn't fix them on our property, because you said it was our fault. So I think it's about time somebody shook up someone. Yeah, I haven't heard from FEMA. They're still negotiating, I don't know what's wrong with that. So I'm stuck. I'm up there at the Brookdale. And I think that's gonna be my residence the rest of my life. So what do I do with the house? If I could sell that house, I would have had an income, but I don't have nothing. And I'm by myself. I'm a widow, and I'm 92 years old. I have no children. So it's hell on earth that you don't have a home. I owned that home for 67 years. And I'm just sick and tired. But I'll tell you one thing, I'll fight it till the day I die. I'll fight you. So I think you better get going with the governor, because he's never done anything for us. And they knew, because we have sent letters to them, time and time again. We sent, how many letters did we send out? 1, 6, 12? And you know how many people? 3 people, 4 people gave answers. And one person got a letter from the governor, wanted to know the total. And that person told him that he was fine. So where do we stand?
Still pushing. Hopefully we'll have some new
And I
information.
wanna know what's gonna happen with my taxes.
What did we do the past? What did we waive the past couple
Water
weeks
and
ago?
sewer.
Water and sewer.
Yeah.
I have no objection to paying taxes if I'm living in my house. If I'm not living in, it's not fit to live in.
Let's look into that, and on next board meeting, hopefully we'll have something to present on that in terms of what we can do as a village, because that's going to get into, I'm sure, some legal questions.
Yeah.
And so, Winnie, we'll get back to you on that, and we'll look for something in our next agenda to be specific to that, because that's going to require a lot of lawyer questions.
I don't understand the story, but
Hopefully the story changes soon.
I hope so. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Let's move on. Do you guys have you guys seen the August and September minutes? We didn't have the August minutes the last meeting, so we have to approve both.
Yep.
Any questions, changes, modifications? Looking for a motion to approve the
Motion.
August minutes. Brian, second. Need a second?
I can second my own.
Kevin? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm gonna abstain because I was not there.
Okay. Extension from Bobby. And looking for motion to approve the September minutes as well.
Motion.
Ben, second. Okay, that's a
Second.
Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Police reports. Bob, and Bob, could you come up here and speak so the recording devices pick up your wonderful, soothing voice? I don't think you heard me.
For the month of September to October, we handled 101 calls. Last year, for that month, it was 70, so there's a major increase in calls for the month. Total arrests were a total of 11. There were one for aggravated unlicensed operation, 2 for trespassing, 2 for the bench warrants, 2 for aggravated harassment, 1 for an assault, 2 for harassment, and 1 for criminal contempt. Some of the highlights there: the security access system is installed. The only place where it's not installed yet is at the highway garage. There is a Wi-Fi issue going on. We got to try to work that issue out. But the security system is up and running. I hope everybody's been able to access. I know there was some issues in the beginning, but we've worked out the details. The system is controlled by our computer, where everyone's given access, and if people leave, we just go into the computer and take them out. We're able to control times and dates of when people come into the offices and when they don't come out. So it's a really good system. That system has been paid for completely out of a seizure of money that we received back 2 years ago. So this is at no cost to the village. I think the total cost of it ran about $35,000. So there's a major benefit that we've been looking to do for the village. They've been talking about it in years past, so fortunately we were able to do it. The new car that was ordered should be here this week. That vehicle also has come out of our seizure money at no cost to the village. That vehicle cost about $35,000 to be completely outfitted with a radio, et cetera, et cetera. And it has, again, no cost to the village for that. The new computers have been installed. One was in the patrol car. These computers access DCJS, so the officers have complete contact with anyone who they pull over or they come in contact in the street. They can punch their name into the computer if the person's wanted, or we can get a pretty good idea of who the person is, accidents, et cetera, et cetera. Again, that is of no cost to the village. The new firearms have arrived for the department. We're going to be going with some firearms training here in the next month. They're going to be replacing old firearms that we have. Again, fortunately, that all came out of our drug money, so this is of no cost to the village as well. There's a video system that's been installed in the computer. It comes out of Albany Crime Analysis Unit. This is a TV screen that's hooked up with all our agencies throughout the Capital District. We're in constant contact with them. If they're looking for somebody, they put it up on the computer, and this is broadcast 24 hours a day. If there's a storm, like what we had there, most recent, we can put that up. It puts us in contact with other agencies, give them an update so they can get the warning out to people about any dangers or issues that are happening in the falls. That was done through not a grant, but the analysis out of Albany makes these available for agencies. We were on a waiting list. We put in for it. That we got approved for it, and now that's up and running. And again, that's no cost. We are going to talk about some issues here. I know we're going to go into, I don't know, executive session or whatever it is to talk about. We are, to bring to your point here, we are a part-time police department, and one of the issues that we're having is full-time officers are only going to be with us for a short time. A lot of factors play into that. A lot of it is money. They get offered into other departments and they go. We have officers that come in here. We don't pay for any of their training. We had a program going on here where we sponsored them into the basic school. They go to the basic school, 6 months, wasn't paid for by us. They went on their own time. Their uniforms they paid for all that and all their equipment. When they came out, they come to work for us part-time. We usually would have them 6 months to a year, depending, maybe even longer, depending on if they've taken a civil service exam and they're going to another department. And it's kind of like a standard joke in a lot of the agencies, is that the best officers that they're getting are out of Hoosick Falls. They're trained and they come to us at a cheap cost, and Hoosick Falls has become their training ground. I'd love to say let's hire part-time officers, and I'd love to say let's get it fully staffed where we are. It's very, very difficult. We've tried to reach out to the community here, looking for officers or individuals that live in the village or the town, to try to bring them onto the force. It's worked a couple of times, other times it hasn't. One of our officers that is from up here is leaving at the end of the year. He's going to be going to Troy PD.
Bob, can you just clarify? That's because they're going to get full-time positions.
Full-time positions, right. Even our full-time officers that come here, if we hire them off a civil service list, we're going to be required to send them to basic school for 6 months at a full cost, meaning that we're going to be paying for everything for them. So we're going to be paying for a full salary of an officer that we're not even going to see on the street for 6 months. He's going to be in basic school. So the village has to pay that cost now. The program that we were running is to have individuals that wished for us to sponsor them into the basic school at no cost. We were sending every basic school, so we were getting 2 fresh officers that were staying with us for, well, the last contingency of officers. We're going to be losing about 4 officers at the end of the year here. Now, I'm going to assure you, it is not affecting patrol coverage here, okay? Those shifts are being covered. And as I pointed out to you, I've been working on midnights on Saturdays here, and Friday midnights that we've been working here. When they're short, I'll come in and make sure that those shifts are covered. So I assure the public that there is going to be no shortage of patrol officers. Pretty much every case that has come before us of a serious nature, we have been on it and we have made arrests on it. And we work really hard to do such. We've been lucky at times, and sometimes it takes a little while to get to where we have to get to make those arrests. But we've been having car thefts around here, we've been having larcenies that have been occurring, and everyone that has done it, we've caught. And they're in jail. Most of these guys are getting prison time from what we're doing. We just had a recent break-ins of a couple cars, and we went through the list of all the individuals that were our suspects, and every one of them are in jail. So we have a new group that we have to look at. So with that said, I'm asking the village board to approve of a hiree tonight. He's from Pittstown. He's a Troy PD officer that worked for us part-time here. The resumes I've given to Bob. We're going to meet, and we're going to talk about these issues full-time compared to part-time. But there are some issues that have to be addressed here. So, yes, ma'am.
Just 'cause I don't know if you guys considered this, but in nursing, if the hospital wanted you to go to nursing school for them, you have to be some places committed for 1 year or 2 years for them. And I don't know if that's something that you funded them to go into training, that they have to be committed to.
We looked at that as well. I mean, there is civil service law that says that you have to maintain, we can maintain employment for a year, okay? I will say, by sponsoring the officers to go to this school and having them pay their own way, it'd be a little unfair for them to come to us and then say, you got to stay for us for a year,
Yeah, that's what I'm
because they
saying.
paid their own way.
If you pay for
But
their-
if we pay for an officer to go to that school, there is a cost that this village has to absorb during that period that they're in there, that I really don't think that our budget at this particular time can absorb that. And I think that we would be kind of going back a little bit on it. So my best solution right now is to continue with putting the persons in the school, sponsor them into the school. The only problem we have right now is that Troy PD has decided to hire a bunch of officers, and they turn to Hoosick Falls officers that are on the list. They're on the civil service list, so that's what they're grabbing them. And like I said, one of them just walked in a little while ago and told me that he just got the letter from Troy. We got another officer that's going to the sheriff's department. We got another one that's going to Albany County Sheriff's Department at the end of the year. So
The other thing people need to understand too, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as when they're on the list you're talking about, the civil service list, you have to take the ones who score the highest first, correct?
correct, I have to go through the first three, and you just can't eliminate them by
You
saying,
can't just
hey,
pick and choose who you want.
I don't want you, I'm going down to number 10. You have to go for the first three. There's reasons to disqualify them, but there's some serious reasons why you have to disqualify them. And if they wish, they can fight you on it. So we have to kind of go to first three, hire one, then you go to the next three. And to reach a town resident or a village resident, sometimes you can go, well, we're just looking for village residents, and you can go to them right away. I had some promising things where some individuals in the village wanted to come to work, and I was excited about it, but they pulled out. They said no, they're going to go somewhere else, or they're going to go do something else in life. So
Is there any reciprocity with the Bennington Police Department, or is it state by state when it comes to civil service?
it goes state and county. So the county of Rensselaer, the town, the city, the village, you know.
Bennington is not a source.
City of Troy has their own civil service. We go off of Rensselaer County Civil Service, so we have to abide by their, and they give this test out once every 3 years. So I'm looking at a list of 200 people on it that I have to wait to either they go for another test, or we get down the list and we can start reaching into individuals that are close by for us. It's a very difficult process. And I know Ann and I went through 5 years ago, going through that list, and it was.
Yeah, generally officers or people that, fellows that live, or girls that live in the, they don't take the job up here because of the pay. But we have gotten a lot of good part-time officers.
And it's sad because we do, you know, a lot of those agencies like Troy, a couple of the officers that are going there want to stay here part-time, but they have to be on the job for a full year down there while their probation is going on, before they can go to outside employment. So and I've talked to their chief down there. It's a union issue, and we have a union issue here too that we deal with. But it's a tough situation when you're trying to reach into other employment for other especially when you're dealing with other agencies.
What if nobody on that list wants a job? Can you hire anybody after that?
You still have to go through that process. So we have to go to the first 3. If one of them in that 3 say they want the job.
No, what I'm saying is, if nobody on the list wants a job, can you go outside the list?
No. I've tried that right now with one of our officers, and I've met with civil service a number of different times and tried to come up with a way that I can reach a particular officer that's not on the list, and they have made it perfectly clear that no.
And he's not on the list because he hasn't taken the test yet? Or he
He's
didn't
not
pass
on the
it?
list because he hasn't taken the test yet.
Okay.
There's one officer that's on the list, but he's not reachable. To reach him, I'd have to go through like almost 20 other people to try to get to him. If I put out a list saying that I'm seeking people for employment, I'm almost, by law, I have to discuss all that with all these individuals. So
Right, whoever applies,
answers
you have
that
to
letter,
interview, right.
I have to deal with. And then I have to come up with a reason as to why we're choosing not to go off that list after the list has been presented to us. So
It's neat. We know it needs to be fixed, but it's not a simple process as,
No, it's not. And you know, I've been here part-time and full-time for almost 15 years, and it's, you take the good with the bad and the bad with the good, and it's a very difficult situation. And right now, I'm down, state police and sheriffs, they're short as well, and I've been out here on these calls waiting for these guys to get here to back me up, and it's 45 minutes before they get out here, and it's no negativity toward them, it's just the way it is. And you know, we talked one time, and I don't mean to bring this out, but one time of this village would be going to a town-wide PD, and I think, in my personal opinion, that would be, and I don't mean to throw it out to the town, but that would be a big answer to the problems here in this village,
Wait till
is to
after
go to a
November.
townwide PD. Well, the other thing too is we get requested quite a bit by the sheriffs and the state police to go outside the village to back up either their units, or in particular, we had a shooting up here was a year ago, 2 years ago.
Oh, but in North
We had to go. We had to get out there. It was a bad situation, and our officers were the first ones to arrive. And I ended up at Albany Med. They called me at my house. I went to Albany Med and had to go into surgery with this guy who was the suspect because the sheriffs couldn't get a car over there. So I went and sat at the hospital and went into surgery while because he was going into surgery. There was nothing we could do until the sheriff's deputy got there to relieve me. So it's a tough situation. So maybe it's time that we start thinking about going to a townwide PD. Mark?
Add it to tomorrow night's agenda.
Well, I think it's pretty unfair that the state police are based in Brunswick, a much wealthier community than Hoosick is, and they spend probably a majority of the time in that town, where they're getting free, not free, but state-sponsored police coverage, and we have to pay, I don't know what our budget is.
Yeah, Kev, you're completely right, because I sit there and
They have a
listen to,
Walmart, yeah.
most of the time our backup is coming out of Brunswick from the sheriffs and the state police. They're usually in the Brunswick area. Now, in fairness, Walmart and Price Chopper is a nightmare to them, a complete nightmare. They leave there for 5 minutes and call right back. They're dealing with that. We're dealing with what we're dealing with here. And we knew at one point, Route 22, which we all spoke about as being that heroin highway, they were going off beat, the bad guys, and coming through the village, not thinking. We cracked down on it. That's how we came up with that amount of money that we came up with. We cracked down heavily on that. Now they've gone back out on the 7, and they're making their way down. I think one of the answers to our problem is if we went to a townwide PD, that problem would be handled by us. So, yeah, in fairness to the sheriffs and state police, they're busy in other areas, and you're right, they're down in Brunswick quite a bit, and they've got a substation there, and they're 2 minutes away from Troy. If there's a call usually in North Greenbush, Troy, if they need backup, Troy PD is sending their officers out there, so.
Well,
You
Chief,
know,
one, you do an excellent job for what you have.
No, thank you.
It's tough. But two, on the note, just on the note of townwide, And we do talk a lot about economic development, and we talk a lot about growing our town and making it more attractive for businesses to locate here. I do think that's a key part of that, and a discussion at some point we need to seriously look at, especially if you want to put your business here and you want it in the town. That to me, I'd want to make sure I'd have police protection. Or new development for housing.
There's
whatever
arguments
it
on
may
both
be.
ways. I mean, the subway got robbed out there 2-3 years ago. If it wasn't for our officers that responded, we caught the person. We got the person. And it was based on our officers' knowledge of the area and the situation. And our officers caught the person and was able to make the arrest and turn him over to the sheriff's and state police. We work very closely with the state police. If we get a major crime here, I immediately call the state police for assistance. So we're not equipped to handle homicides and things of that nature. And I have a good working relationship, a weekly meeting. I go down in the daytime and I meet with the state police in Brunswick. We discuss back and forth, not just cases in North English, but cases or in Hoosick Falls, but throughout the area. And some of our individuals here, I was in Malta a month ago. There was a house that was burglarized here in the village. We, and I say we, based on our information, was able to get it over to Malta State Police. They made an arrest, solved about 10 burglaries up there that they had, which was also tied into one of our burglaries here. So there's a constant exchange of information going on.
Just one quick question. When you go out on a call for the sheriff's department or state police, who compensates you for that? Is that a village cost or does it
We've
go to
had an
your budget?
agreement with the mayors. They've been good, and I think that every mayor,
It's a reciprocity between everybody.
including Rob right now, is their response to me, and I agree with them, is if there's someone out there screaming for help, we gotta go. We're the closest person, and we're gonna go. And we're gonna go do what we have to do. Compensation has never been really,
Well, we did talk about tracking the number of calls we got, and actually the county charges us, was it 10,000 a year
For dispatch.
dispatch services, and in turn, have them waive that in lieu of our coverage of their calls.
Yeah.
but that, they're getting off cheap if that happens. You know, we talked about possibly even maybe sitting with the town and talking about going on and going like a weekend type patrols out into the town to help with some kind of compensation.
But as far as the town, when they go to court, when our police officers, or the
We
court
pay the
officers,
town.
we get, the town pays.
The town pays
village
us for court
pays the
officers.
employee.
So there's 8 hours, there's 8 hours a month that an officer is assigned to the courts in the town that we get compensated by the town.
Bob, do you want us,
If you could look at that.
the motion?
We might
Do you guys feel comfortable making a motion to hire Corey Barton? I think you guys all have the resume in front of you.
And you said that the Colin Winters resigned.
Colin is going to be
effective,
deleted.
effective immediately.
Yeah, whenever that date is.
Let's first get a motion to accept the letter of resignation from Colin Winters.
Should we accept this police report first?
No, we'll do it after. So looking for a motion to accept the letter of resignation?
Motion.
Ben, second?
Second.
Bobby, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Does anyone want to put up a motion to
I'll
hire?
make the motion, we'll hire Corey Barton, Johnsonville, address is Johnsonville, Pittstown,
Okay.
as a part-time officer.
Looking for a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on this?
Effective when?
Oh, yeah.
Not today. Tonight.
Put your gun stashed outside.
He'll be working this weekend.
Yeah.
All right.
He'll be doing in some training with me this week.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
yep.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else?
No,
All right.
there's other questions.
Looking for a motion to accept the police report.
Motion.
Okay. Brian, second by Bobby. Further discussion? All in favor?
Louder.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. I missed the treasurer report. We'll build it into the community or to the committees when we get there. So, Mark, please. Code enforcement reports.
Oh, you want to talk some more about the police department?
You gave me the evil look when you walked by.
Tire track.
Well, yeah, I mean, for those that don't know, you know, I'm a huge supporter of the police department. I was part of the Hoosick Falls Police Department for 10 years when I was a lot younger. And
Much younger.
about 3 years ago, we went through a dissolution study. And at that time, the town board really was not interested in discussing the townwide police. And really, I think that was the only reason that it never actually went to a public vote because of that. It was, and we had some people who said they would fight us to the death on townwide policing. But it was something that was considered by a lot of people. And it probably, I mean, it certainly is worth discussing, especially after some of the things that they've talked about. So certainly, it's from the town standpoint, it'd be worth having that discussion at some point. Right now, from the town perspective, the village police department will respond to an emergency in the town, and it doesn't cost town residents a dime. So it's a good deal for the town.
Hey now, get back to that code enforcement report, please.
All right, so, yeah, basically just continuing on here with some things. Andrew and I really haven't gotten a chance to get into the flow of things as far as court and things like that go. Hopefully this week we'll be starting some of that. And, you know, some of these names have been on here for a long time. And hopefully we'll start to see some turnover with some of this stuff, and we'll be able to maybe to start getting some of these things through. Bobby, I think we're getting closer on trying to have a meeting just to sit down with all parties so we can just kind of make sure our process is working and we're all on the same page. So we're still trying to do that because I think that's an important thing, that we all are kind of following the same process.
Right.
From beginning to end, so we can turn some of these things over. Because some of these things are celebrating birthdays, multiple birthdays, and that's not good. We need to get this stuff. It needs to move through.
The people in Ball Street are now happy. Thank you.
People on Ball Street happy?
Yeah, that. How many years has that been there?
Quite a few.
I look back in the records. A lot of years I think been there. So
definitely more than 6, because I looked at buying the house next to it 6 years ago.
Yeah, no,
and then I saw that, I said, nope.
It went way back.
So,
I was determined that one was going to happen.
Where'd they park it?
It's gone. It's gone. I was told Connecticut.
May it rest in peace.
So is there any other questions? The report's pretty.
Oh, and the computer is in and working in Marie's room or in Marie's desk.
Computer we just finally finished today with the software that we needed.
Oh, good.
So that was installed this afternoon. So now she has everything that she needs. We had a few days. We had a hardware issue with my computer, which made us dead in the water for 3 days, which is not good. I can't tell you how many times I reached for my mouse to do something.
Yep.
I got no computer. So
now we have a backup computer in case yours goes down too.
Now we have a backup, so we're good there.
Blue Horseshoe, is that an LLC?
Yes, it is, but they've actually sold that house to somebody else. They're still on paper as owner. That's 166 Church Street.
Which looks very much improved now.
But the fellow that has it now is actually renting it. He bought at lease to own type of deal. He has extended that to an employee of his, lease to own. But he's taken the bull by the horns because of the code enforcement stuff that I started. And he has done a lot of work on that house, and they're really bringing it up to snuff. There's a lot more to go, but he's made some big changes already.
About the complaints opened and closed, you got 19 open, 12 closed. Those ones that closed, Mark, when you say closed, does that mean that you followed up and made sure all the work they're up to what you requested?
Yeah, it could be that, or it could be.
Or it's in process.
I went and did a pre-tenant inspection, and because that particular landlord knows what I'm looking for, and everything's done, so I'm opening it and closing it the same day. You know, we send out the bill, and that one's done. Or it could be something that's been open for a year.
No, the reason I'm asking is because I know there's one that was on here last month that's not on here this month, and I didn't know if it's done or completed because I know it's.
That?
It was on Redmond.
Redmond?
Yeah.
No, that was dismissed by the court.
Dismissed by the court?
Yeah.
Nothing was done?
Oh, he did some of the things, yep.
Some
of the things.
But not all? No, that's why I'm asking, because I know, I go by there every day, and that's why I was asking. Okay. No, that's one of the issues we need to address. You're right.
Give me that open,
Any other questions?
No, that's it for me, Mark.
Forgot to pass that down that way. All right, looking for a motion to accept the code enforcement report.
Motion?
Bobby. Second, Bob Downing. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Clerk reports.
I mean, Mark's report sounds really short, like he doesn't do anything, but it's like he never has time to get out of his chair. And I don't know what we do during the day. We've had 9 sales.
Nice.
One of them was a business, one was a 2-family. The tax searches, do all the water, et cetera, et cetera. We've got our new clerk's software for accounting. Judy and I will be doing. Actually, the first one is our abstracts to see that we haven't quite got it down. It's the first one we've drawn. It takes time, but we'll get to it.
It does.
Other than that, I don't know what we've done. Everything. You name it, we do it.
Non-stop in
Yeah.
there.
Just- Oh, and we did have an irate funeral director this morning, and that's something we need to talk to you about. That open line that we have, that maybe they can call in on that, because we had Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I think he emailed it on Friday evening. Well, toward the end of the day. We're not there Saturday,
Yeah.
Sunday, we did have Monday, he was irate. I mean, just
Wow.
called the police department and they didn't have any phone numbers to give them, so we need to talk about that.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
All right.
they only have a 72-hour window,
Yeah, that's.
so we have to talk about that.
We can figure that out. Thank you. Any questions? Looking for motion to accept the clerk's report.
Motion.
Ben, second.
Second.
Brian, for the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Committee reports, and when we get to Ben, we're going to include the treasurer's report, because I missed that in the earlier thing. Where do you want to start?
You know, all right. The fiscal year 2016-17 has just been filed. The annual report has just been filed. So I'm just going to give an overview of the expenses and the revenues. The report is available at the clerk's office for inspection. The general fund revenues, $1.955 million. Expenditures, $1.701 million. Water fund revenues, $795,265. Expenditures, $910,106. Sewer fund revenues, $808,663. Expenditures, $732,828. General fund to the plus, sewer fund to the plus, water fund to the minus. But again, that has been filed, and the public inspection can be done at the clerk's office. Another thing that Ann doesn't do, so that'll be fine.
All right.
And I don't have a September report. I just have the annual
Right.
one. So
Just-
we'll
she
have
was
that
going
next
crazy
month.
over the
Yep.
past couple weeks getting that finished.
As far as the water, do you want to vote on that first?
Yeah, can we have a motion to accept treasurer's report?
Motion.
Bobby? Second?
Second.
Brian, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you.
Water department, hydrant flushing will begin on Monday, October 16th. And will happen as well on the 17th, so that's next Monday and next Tuesday, barring any emergencies in between. Wards 2 and 3 will be flushed first on the 16th. Wards 1 and 4 will be flushed on the 17th. That water that is flushed is PFOA free. There is no issue with the water, with the hydrant flushing that will be happening next Monday and Tuesday. Also, the last time I was on the board, back in the mid-2000s, we had a bacteriological monitoring of raw water per New York State DOH. It's come around again. We must have to do this every 10 years. So we have to monitor our raw water. That's tough to say. We have to do it every 2 weeks for the next year. So we're going to take 26 samples. Those are required. It's not for PFOA, it's for E. coli and coliform. So again, we will be, it's called LT2 bacteriological monitoring. And again, that will be happening every 2 weeks for the next year.
Fantastic.
And that's all I have.
All right. Just to work off of that, on the bottom of page 2 in the agenda is a motion to publish the locations and days for hydrant flushing as follows, as he stated, October 16th, 2nd and 3rd wards, October 17th, 1st and 4th wards. If I have permission from the board, I'd like to see if I can get a motion for that.
So moved.
Bob?
Second.
Second, Ben. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the letter from, I think, DEC and DOH about the flushing is actually online on our website as well. All right, thank you. Bobby, you're up.
Let's see. Well, I have Neil's report, but Neil's not here. He's already do most of the.
He's done a lot.
He's done a lot. Sewer line on John Street was completed. Him and his crew and Kenny and Keith took care of that. Sinkhole on Main Street is completed. Hall Street, they've done all they can for right now. All the major flood work is done except for Classic Street area. He already talked about the leaf pickup. The old waterworks building has been taken care of.
Yep.
And eliminated a safety hazard. This is doing shared services with the Central School. Working on the sidewalks on Burchard Avenue. We also had to set up for a couple of road races, annual mowing, weed whacking, transfer station cleaning. Blacktop patching is not started, but there's much to be done. And that's it to Abbott Street Junction, but there's a couple other flood issues still in progress. And leaf pickup, any work, and that's it.
That's it.
That's it for Neil. And then the police was just, we are going to meet with Bob afterwards and discuss just open discussion regarding full-time, part-time, what our options are and how we can go about it.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, Bob.
Yep.
When I was going to work this morning on Church Street, there was 2 cones set up. There was like a re-blacktop area, and it looked like just up from the Stewarts.
Oh, I know. On the left-hand side, there's somebody put in the. I know what you're talking about. The left-hand side.
I was just wondering what happened because
No, it's somebody doing a contractor's doing work.
Okay.
That's what it was.
I was more concerned because that work was. I mean, that was done,
Yeah.
and I thought maybe there was another issue. So.
No, there's a contractor putting a sidewalk,
Okay.
a slab of sidewalk.
I couldn't see it. It was dark, so I was just glad I didn't get hit by a deer. So that's all I was concerned with.
All right. Kevin?
I was contacted by Neil earlier this week. Cumberland Farms tore down the old Oaks building, and he had some concerns about water draining off from a retaining pond they're putting in. During the planning board meetings, a lot of that information wasn't in the planning board minutes or even at the meetings that I attended. So he was concerned about the water draining off from the retaining pond into a ditch that went down near the road, but the engineers assured me that that wouldn't be happening and the water will drain to the back of their property. And he also updated me on the project. It's moving along quickly, and they've ordered the plaque that we requested on the history of the Elks Club, and also putting in some ornamental lighting, which we asked for at the planning board meeting. And also thank you to everyone that came out for the tractor show a couple weeks ago. We had 54 tractors, the most ever, and it's grown every year, and I hope it grows even larger next year.
That's great.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you.
I just want to let the board, whoever was involved with it, thank you so much. I wasn't able to be here, but all my whole family says thank you for doing that.
Hope to see you next year.
It was wonderful to honor my dad.
Thank you. Brian?
Yeah. So I should start off with, do you want me to do the crosswalk and then go through the other stuff, or go in reverse?
Go reverse. We'll
All
cross
right.
at the end.
Reverse 911. I spoke with Jason Willits in New York Alert. It is free for us to use. They're going through a system upgrade, so I haven't had time, nor has he, to pick a time that works to go meet with him. When I do meet with him, there's an additional step we need to do. E911 data is acquired by the county and shared with New York Alert. They do not have anything from Rensselaer County on file, and he said he'll have to explain that process and if Rensselaer County and all that, how that works. But what they can do, and what that means is that if we don't have that data, we can't push it out to anybody who has a cell phone or a landline within the zip code area. However, what we can do is have without that or not, people sign up, and you can get an email and or text or whatever it may be. So I'm going to meet with him and it's all free. New York State does not charge municipalities for it. If something happens like it did over this past summer, you as mayor or the deputy, if you were not around, could authorize as a civil authority an EAS activation that could be localized to here and covered on radio, TV too.
Okay.
So, what's that?
No emergencies?
Yes, you couldn't do EAS for that, but you could do a text message alert. Yeah.
You
There's
have
no
everything
emergencies.
for it. I get it
So-
for road closings, everything for
Yeah.
all around the area.
They'll send a text. You can sign up and customize what you get. They're upgrading their system to make it more user-friendly, said. So once I meet with him, I apologize. It's been
No,
longer
but
than
I'm aware of the service because I use it.
Yeah.
When I signed up for it a long time ago, you know, with working, I have it also up in Vermont.
Yeah, you can do
And
multiple counties and-
it's wonderful because it lets you know one thing, you know, road closures. Now, you know, again, maybe my husband and I have too much time on our hands to do with his retirement, but we've gone to go out a road and find the roads assigned, road closed, and have to literally turn around and come back to town and us not know about it. We would know about it and not that call.
Yeah.
That's great, Brian.
So once I meet with him, I'll have a lot more info and see how soon we get started with that.
All right, thanks.
Greenway planning, really quickly, the Greenway Committee in the last couple of meetings has talked about options for, now that the Greenway is pretty stable and built here, expanding. They've always had a goal of reaching Tibbetts Forest, reaching the battlefield, Brown's Brewery along the way. Some options could include approaching Vermont Railway and doing a rails with trails with rails, set it backward. Connecting to the Taconic Crest Trail in Petersburg, which would connect us to a larger network, the Mohegan Mohawk Trail. In doing so, one of the things, and I have to thank Shelley for how much effort, time, and work she continues to put in to the Greenway. It's kind of, I'm just amazed by her all the time. You know, one of the things she said that brought up, and I agree, and the last meeting we all went through was two things. One, exploring incorporation of the Greenway or Friends of the Greenway to work on funding things like picking up garbage, but expanding, and also approaching the town and village to give that as a park and talk to the town about expanding as well, where town and village could take over some ownership if they incorporate as their own entity to expand beyond. So there's a lot of plans that could be on the horizon, but it would also help the tourism and multi-use, etc. So more on that. And then you already went through all the grants, so I don't have to mention those. And crosswalk. I had, apologies, I think it was like 2 months ago, and I found the note I wrote down, and that's why I put stuff in here and not write it down. It was from a resident who lives we're up near the old Weeds, where Main and Church Street come together. It's called The Point. And I've run into this scenario myself where it's either dodge the pedestrian, dodge the car. I'm not quite sure where to cross, and I really shouldn't walk across Guy Millman's lawn or Mr. Millman's lawn. And the resident had said maybe if there was a crosswalk, it would indicate where it would be the safest spot to cross, which I think would be a great idea. And we could probably put one of those pedestrian yellow things that some of our drivers run into sometimes.
It's a tough place to cross.
It is. It is
It
tough
is.
to cross.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
you
you're
don't
talking
really know
Main
where to.
Street to Church?
Main to Church, or where even if it's beyond it by the Weeds, where would be the safest place for
Right.
people to
Cross.
Probably up
cross?
closer to Weebs would make the most
Probably,
sense, I
yeah,
think.
where the road's actually one road and not two or three. I think it's a great idea. It's a resident who lives up there and sees a lot of dangerous situations, sometimes slightly comedic, but
Especially
not.
with people coming left and not putting the
Yep.
direction. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and uncertainty about coming off Hill Road, and do you just go left to merge, or do you stop and make a left turn around the, we confuse people in Hoosick Falls.
Can you follow up with Neil on that?
Yeah, I mean, is that something we?
Do we have to approve something
Yeah.
like that?
Well,
Or does
that's the
Neil
question.
just
I think
do it?
if it's on our road, we can, if it's on the village property, we can put a crosswalk in, correct? We don't need permission from DOT like we would on 22.
I think that's accurate. The only time that you have to get involved with DOT is if you're looking at a
State highway, okay.
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 So then does the board need to move for that, or can basically he just follow up with Neil and Neil says, let's put it here and we're good?
Well,
Yeah,
I think you ought to
okay.
do a motion.
if you want me to.
Okay.
I'll give it to you.
Sure. I'll
Because
take
you're
care of
expecting to be
it.
expending, village funds.
I think you'd have to see
But
how
Brian, we'll
far
get together.
the county comes in too.
I think they go right to the village line, right? Then it's technically Main Street.
Good point.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where the line would be, but I know the county takes care of that upper part, that intersection most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Plow.
Okay. good
Should
to
we
know.
follow up with Neil and get something for
Yeah.
next meeting?
Bobby said he'll.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I'll get
Great.
I'll get
All right.
in touch with you. We can get with them
Excellent.
together. Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anything else, Brian?
That's it.
All right. Thank you. On to page 2. And I do have to apologize. I have 3 additional things to add in with board permission. We'll get to, but they should be quick. We'll get to them at the end. Sorry, Ann's ready to beat me up. Old business court audit. Anything new, Bobby?
Yes, October 28th is scheduled.
Okay.
I'm meeting with the court clerk at 6 p.m. on the 24th.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Agreement between the village and Barton and Judas, Hoosick Falls contract, LWRP, local waterfront revitalization. Is that, we have that later, don't we?
Well, so that ties in with the land use inventory. They're kind of overlapping there.
Okay.
But you did mention that earlier through one of the grants. We just need to, we've reviewed the agreement with John. Looks good to John. Department of State also said it looks good for Linda. So we'd have to vote to accept the contract, correct?
Are these the 2 things that are below in
Agreed to it?
new business?
Yeah, so new business are the grant support and the admin services. That's not directly related to this one, but the land use inventory is.
This is not on the agenda right now. That's okay.
Should probably explain the land use inventory too. Would be in part going through, and they would take a look at structures that are listed as a single family and have more than that, and we will be able to take care of those. And just, it's a way to make sure that our buildings and land are being used as they're supposed to be.
So we need to put a motion out to agree to sign the agreement basically,
Yes.
is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Do you want to put out that motion, Brian?
Yeah, motion to sign the agreement with B&L Barton and Judas for the local waterfront revitalization project.
Need a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kevin. Any further discussion on this? I know that you've signed off on it, I've looked it over, you've looked it over.
Study,
Friendly
not
State.
project.
What's that?
Study, not project.
Study, not project, study. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, thank you. Smart Wallet update. Anything new?
Nope.
Great, easy enough. Done.
But along that, before, John, did you get? Did he sent you everything? We forwarded everything to you, right? So you had no issues with that. So
No problem.
okay. The only thing I do have a question though. James Buno, who did the LED lighting at the highway garage, the sewer, we had a contract with them. And it was from, that was what, Potential Management. He sent me an email, and I didn't want to answer. He said, hope all is well now the work is done with the project in Hoosick Falls. Skirt Village and Town of County, they asked that they have had a reference from our previous towns and villages we have worked on. I was wondering if we could provide an email saying we did a good job and you were satisfied with a cell phone, either contact or you or the mayor, they could just call and just to confirm. If you could help with this, is that something we can do with not a problem, or?
You can make you can say whether you're satisfied.
Okay.
Yeah, it's,
Is that something you want to do?
I think in terms of detail, I think if you could just reference the project. And
Right,
say-
not get into specifics, right, correct, yeah.
Were you familiar with that project?
Yeah, definitely. I can
you-
take care of, yeah,
Perfect,
absolutely.
thank you.
That's okay, yeah.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks. 62 Mechanic Street, we discussed last time the possibility of looking into further demolition or putting it out for bid. And there's a lot of options for that. Do we have any other thoughts or discussions on this?
Mark, did you hear anything back on that as far as, I know, as far as the remediation, as far as asbestos on Mechanic? Did we do anything more from the last month? Okay. 'Cause I know we tabled it, but we never did get anybody else to respond to. Okay.
Now, I know I had another conversation with Marilyn Douglas about some of the potential things we could do if we put it back out for bid. She talked about the possibility of putting out with a due date. We have the right to look over the bids, but not award them that night. We can award them based on track record, not just the price. So if it's a landlord, we could actually request information from them saying, show us some evidence of other properties you've done.
You can even provide criteria of what you're looking for if you wish.
Right.
In your bid.
And we can take recommendations from the code enforcement officer as well, right?
Yep.
I think I suggested that too. I think we could put in, whatever, we could put in whatever we wanted. It's got
Time
open
constraints on-
windows.
Yes, you can
We
put
could
time
say we
constraints
wanna see
in.
the windows updated in it, it's,
You can require rehab to start by a certain time, be done by a
Start and
certain
finish.
time.
Yeah.
You can require some form of proof of funds. My initial thought with this, just because of the ridiculously high price of that, is to go through this process and to spend some time over the next month to decide what exactly we would want in stipulations, and then try to put that out for bid. That's my own thought on it, but I'm flexible. I want to hear from you guys about that.
Considering the cost to do the abatement, and that and again, just to preface it with, as much as I would like to have more single-family homes, it's already a two-family, and it would be money for the village, and we are, in this case, it would be better for the taxpayer to explore that. So I would be in favor of doing so. I don't know if one of the stipulations can be a voluntary or some sort of donation in kind to the fire department or police or rescue squad as part of the sale.
That'd be some sort of that's a question we got to talk to lawyers about, is how to set that up.
where you have to be careful though is that, you don't want to go overboard with it, because if you're putting it out to bid, you got investors looking at it, and, so they got to squash the numbers and make sure that it's going to be feasible for them. When it's all said and done, the investment they put into it,
Right.
that a two-family is going to be worth the investment.
Right.
So, you have to.
I can't just
Do
ask.
we have a right to refusal when it comes down to?
Yeah, you put that right in your bid proposal.
So no matter if we're not
Absolutely.
content with the person that is the lowest bidder, we can refuse that bid if that be the
You
case?
could even put in there, like we did a long time ago when we did Doherty's Hotel, that we wanted a presentation at the village board meeting in addition to whatever it is. I mean, you can go as far as you like.
Okay, good, okay, that's, because I think we need to.
All right. Any other thoughts on it?
Well, talking about what Mark just mentioned, so we couldn't put in it that we wanted the person that bought it to be on one side and rent out the other. Is that right?
I don't think so. I don't think.
Owner occupied?
To live in one side and rent out the other, owner occupied. If they were to purchase, we couldn't do that, right? Or we
Well,
couldn't stipulate
What's your
that.
zoning in that spot?
It's residential.
Sorry?
It's residential,
Residential?
yes.
It's residential, but it's already classified as a two-family.
Two-family, right, so we can allow a two-family, you couldn't allow a three, but, and you couldn't mandate a one-and-one, right, of live in a rental. You could, but I think we'd be.
But I think based on what Mark said, that wouldn't work probably.
Yeah, and I don't think it's in our best interest to do that, seeing we know who is interested in it.
Does this sound like a good avenue to pursue?
I'd rather ask the question than not, though.
No,
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
As a
Yeah.
sidebar to that, could we take that money, I'm not sure exactly how much it was that the bank gave us to demo some other properties that
Need it? Yeah.
One in particular on the corner of Cary, and it's coming up for tax sale.
So you're thinking like
Cary and Church?
Cary and Church, yeah. Which also make it easier to turn in and out of that corner.
So you think the village would try to purchase that property with the idea
I
of?
think the county would give.
Or the
would they
county get
turn
it if no one
over to
buys
us?
it. That's assuming no
If
one buys it,
we're-
I think.
Yeah.
That would be a question for the county, I'm not sure. You guys just went through with that other one down on,
Yeah, it would be, once again, what you would have to do is just let them know you're interested in the property. Because if it goes to a tax sale and it goes to someone else, but, so you'd
Well,
have
they
to.
bought it at tax out for $250.
What's that?
The gentleman that
Yeah.
bought that and then sold it to some young couple, he bought it at tax out for $250.
That's a problem with a lot of properties.
Yeah.
These properties are being bought.
So it's going up
The
again.
tax sale cheap, they rip all the copper and all the plumbing out,
Yeah, there's
then they
nothing
walk
in there.
away.
Yeah, they take everything that they want and they
Yeah.
want.
that is an issue, 'cause then they sit for 3 more years or 4
Yep.
more years.
Yep. While the system catches up. All right, so I think we have a direction on this, and we'll revisit this hopefully with a plan to put out for bid next meeting. All right. I had one thing I forgot to mention in my slew of announcements and updates, and I my apologies on that. So I want to add this into old business. We did have a meeting with the Department of Health in regards to two things. One being the final data from the first round of blood tests, and the second being starting to plan out logistics for a second round of blood testing. So this is kind of a big thing, so my apologies for missing this. It was the Department of Health's idea to invite some community members into that meeting as well. So we brought in, and I'd like to thank Michael Hickey, Lorene Hackett, Emily Marpy, Jan McGuire, Pine,
Craig
Pine. I think it was like Alex Pine's dad. And who am I forgetting, Michael? Maggie Kinney, thank you. It was a good, productive meeting. We talked about a lot of concerns we had about some of the original data releases, some things we wanted to see, future breakdown suggestions, things like that. They're looking at likely either the end of November being they're complete ready for their report, or the new year, with the idea being we don't really need that in December released anyway. So the idea is hopefully they're going to have it by the end of November, or if not, the new year. In terms of a second round of blood testing, the situation is not if, the situation is going to happen. It's just a matter of planning out the logistics and details, but we all seem to be in agreement that around the 2-year mark made sense, because that would give us, especially those who got blood tested, enough time to go by to see that everything is working the way it's supposed to be. So I hope to have some information on that in probably about the next meeting, but I know that that's coming. So I want to make sure that information is out there. My apologies for not having that in the meeting. Any in the agenda. Any questions on that? All right, great. All right, new business. We have amendment number 3 for the sewer collection system project. This is specific to the 22 Lyman Street, which we have we got through the county. We just need a motion to sign. What do we need to have? A motion to sign this? So we're just basically need a motion for the village, the mayor, to sign off on amendment number 3 to the sewer collection system project.
Motion.
Thank you, Ben. Second. Brian. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
What's the time frame on that whole process?
The bids
Dave?
are hoping to go out January or February, with the idea being spring when things start to touch the ground.
Hopefully there's a shovel in the ground.
Okay.
Yeah. Ideally done next year. Ideally.
Ideally?
Which hasn't worked so far in this project, but ideally it's...
We've already talked about this. Is it conceivable that we would have 3 different work groups at 3 different locations working concurrently on their own individual repair? Church do the install for the pump station while the greenway is being dug. Is it conceivable? Yes.
Okay.
We'll leave it there.
Hypothetically. All right. Thank you. Any other questions on that?
No.
All right.
Yeah.
Next, looking for a motion to sign off on a proposal for additional grant support and administrative services from Barton and Judas. This is the 2007 Environmental Protection Fund. Is that EPF? Yes. Trail Grant Administrative Services, $2,500. Greenway Grant Administrative Services, $1,000. Total $5,500. It's right here. So looking for a motion.
Motion.
Second, Bobby. This is for work that has already been completed through B&L. Any questions? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
What was the motion? I wasn't listening.
Brian and I seconded it.
Oh, sorry, it's Brian and Bobby seconded. Thank you. Similar approach, a continuation of zoning with B&L. I'm looking for a motion to sign off on a proposal for a land use inventory and analysis project from B&L. Study funded by a $5,000 Greenway grant received by the village and a village match of $5,000.
Motion.
Thank you, Brian.
Second.
Second, Ben. Any discussion on this? Similar venue, just continuing to push this along. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now, before I talk about this next resolution, which I'll need that. Oh, it's right here. I talked to you about the one remaining easement in the sewer project that still has to happen. there's two options. One, we get the easement, which we've supplied and haven't gotten a response on, or the other, which is kind of the unfortunate nuclear option in a sense, is basically acquiring it through eminent domain. That's always been the last step that I ever wanted to pursue. But while speaking with both John and Andy, the eminent domain process is time consuming. There's a 90-day something period that has to happen.
It's in there.
It's okay.
It's all in your
So I should just shut up and read this, is what you're saying. Yeah, it's the property along what's this? Route 22. It's in between the insurance place, Baker's Insurance, and the restaurant that had the fire.
So where the Holmes block was.
So
and
there's
then that
three
weird ugly building, and then
there's
the-
three lots there.
Yep.
And then directly behind that, the Greenway path, that's this exact spot. All right. So, reading this. Resolution authorizing commencement of eminent domain proceedings and scheduling a public hearing pursuant to an eminent domain procedure law. Whereas the Village Board of Trustees of the Village of Hoosick Falls, hereinafter Village, has undertaken a public works project consisting of upgrade to the existing public sanitary sewer system serving properties within the Village of Hoosick Falls, hereinafter sewer upgrade projects. And whereas such sewer upgrade project includes in part the construction of a new sewer pump station located at 22 Lyman Street, and installation of a sanitary sewer force main on and along both public streets as well as certain private properties with ultimate connection to the existing village wastewater treatment plant. And whereas in connection with the installation of such new sanitary sewer force main, a number of utility easements over private properties are required to provide the village with access thereto for construction, operation, maintenance, and repair of such sanitary sewer force main now and in the future. And whereas the village has been able to obtain such required utility easements directly from several private property owners for the sewer upgrade project, and whereas the village has been unable to obtain the required utility easement from the owner of one such property necessary for completion of the installation of the sanitary sewer force main for the sewer upgrade project, and whereas such property over which the village has been unable to obtain the required utility easement is located off Church Street, bearing Rensselaer County Tax Map number 27.15-2-20, the total parcel size of 0.79 acres, having 182 feet of frontage on Church Street, being owned now or formerly by Jack Catanio, per deed recorded in the Rensselaer County Clerk's Office at Library 1390, page 229. And whereas the village seeks to obtain a 20-foot wide by 225-foot long permanent utility easement over such parcel, with such easement totaling 4,694 square feet for the installation of such sanitary sewer force main thereon for the sewer upgrade project. And whereas the village seeks to continue its efforts to acquire said utility easement through negotiation and agreement, or if such agreement cannot be reached with the property owner through eminent domain proceedings, and whereas the village considers such acquisition to be in the overall public interest and necessary to complete the current sewer upgrade project public works project, and whereas in compliance with Article 2 of the eminent domain procedure law, the village desires to hold a public hearing on the acquisition of said permanent utility easement through its condemnation powers pursuant to the eminent domain procedure law. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Hoosick Falls in regular session, duly convened as follows. The Board of Trustees of the Village of Hoosick Falls hereby directs that it will hold a public hearing pursuant to Article 2 of the eminent domain procedure law to be held on next meeting. November, I should have this date, 14th, 2017, at 6 p.m. at the Hoosick Falls Village Hall, 24 Main Street, Hoosick Falls, New York, 12190, for the purpose of considering and determining the need and location of a public project prior to acquisition, and specifically with regard to the acquisition of a permanent utility easement on or over property located off Church Street, bearing Rensselaer County Tax Map number 27.15-2-20, in connection with installation of a sanitary sewer force main as part of the Village of Hoosick Falls sanitary sewer upgrade public works project, and further directs that all necessary publication, posting, and service thereof, as required by law, be completed. Whew. Looking for a motion on that.
I'll make a motion.
Kevin, and seconded by?
Second.
Bobby, and this will be a roll call vote, please. Oh, yeah, sorry, discussion first. My apologies. No.
Trustee Downey.
Yes.
Can I read it again?
Trustee Patton.
Yes.
Trustee Ryan.
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley?
Yes.
Trustee Bush?
Yes.
Great.
Deputy Mayor, oh, well, excuse me, Mayor Allen?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So it carries. Thank you. Andy, thank you for that. All the details in there were great, right on. A little long, but, Ben wanted to hear the rest of it again.
And it might be a little longer.
That's all right.
But the 90-day period was not described in there, just so the board is aware. This commences the condemnation process. The first step is to notice and hold a public hearing. So what's going to happen, and we'll coordinate with the village clerk, is there are different publication rules. So it has to be published in the paper a number of times.
Right.
We'll go through that. It has to be served on the property owner and if represented on his attorney.
Right.
We'll hold a public hearing. Then the board will be required to adopt what are called a series of findings to determine the project is in the overall public interest and meets the requirements to take the property pursuant to the MMA procedure law. And then the next step, and this is the 90-day period, if you make those findings saying you want to move forward and acquire that property, is to make a good faith written offer to the property owner. You value that. The village has already had a valuation done of the easement value. You have to use the full value of that appraisal, make a good faith written offer to acquire it just through agreement. If the property owner accepts that, the process ends. If the property owner doesn't accept that, then the last option for the village would be to pursue taking title to that easement through eminent domain. The law does allow the property owner a period of 90 days to consider the written offer to purchase.
Okay.
And this was written to acquire just the easement. Be aware of that. This is not acquiring title to the whole parcel. And there's a reason for that, which is, as we discussed, there's a little bit of a short time frame to get this done, so that the bids can go out and the project can start next year. Given the time frame for the whole procedure, it's advisable, I think, to limit your acquisition to exactly what you need, which in this case would be the easement. Hopefully, this is going to jumpstart some discussions with Mr. Catania.
Would be the easiest situations for him to accept,
I will tell you, John has reached out repeatedly, as you may know.
Yep.
To try to acquire both the easement as well as title to the parcel. He's very, very difficult to communicate with. Since I've come aboard, I've reached out to his attorney, who's identified as his attorney. I can tell the board I put 2 calls in since last Thursday, and they've acknowledged they're aware of Mr. Catania, they understand who I am. I'll get a call back, and to date I've not had to return a phone call. So hopefully this will also jumpstart some of those discussions. But this is an effort to try to acquire the easement in a way that's not objectionable to the property owner, taking only that title which is necessary to complete the sewer project. That's what the condemnation seeks, is just the easement, the utility easement. Hopefully, again, if it meets the village's needs, that we can discuss on acquiring title, at least to that property along the river. But that's, in a nutshell, that's the process.
His position has been all along, he wants the village to buy all 4 properties he owns in the village. That's where we've started with, and he hasn't gotten one. And now he hasn't been communicating for months. So.
He's not been well.
Pardon?
He's not been well during the Greenway.
No, he's been sick before, but he's called me from the hospital back when he was actually talking to us. So. That was a while ago.
Well, thank you. And we do need a motion to hold a public hearing pursuant to eminent domain procedure law.
So moved.
Bobby, thank you.
Second.
Second, Brian. Any discussion? It will be held the next meeting, November 14th, 6 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Looking for a motion to notify Rensselaer County Board of Elections a certificate setting forth each village office to be filled at the March 20th election. 3 2-year trustee seats and 1 4-year term village justice.
Motion. Second.
Thank you, Ben. Second by Bob Downing. Any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you. Motion to approve an adjustment to the August 2017 utility bill for property located at 69 River Road. Village reported showed a leak. Homeowner was notified, had a new toilet installed, receipt on file. Adjust water in the amount of minus $100.68, and sewer in the amount of minus $103.67. It's right there. Looking for a motion.
Motion.
Brian, thank you.
Second.
Second, Ben. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Looking for a motion to advertise a request for qualifications for the design of the Hoosick Falls Highway Garage.
Yes, I'll make
Pursuant
that
to the $1.1 million grant. Bobby's made the motion. Looking for a second.
Second.
Thank you, Ben. Any discussion on this?
We do that design, it's gonna be just a complete design, we're not gonna go over and change and keep changing like we do other projects.
That's not my intention. I want to have a plan to
I'm
be.
just saying, I can see if we change it, stuff's gonna come down.
It's-
But change it
okay.
If you're gonna, price is going up. But
Get the project set, no
It's
changes.
gonna be a dead set thing for the test version.
Okay.
Once it's done.
That sounds good. Because I want to keep things moving too.
I've seen a lot of things happen.
Okay. I know that Neil and a few others have spoken about this already. Dave as well, I think. Just on specifically what we're going to be looking for. So I know that's part of the
I
process.
think we had an engineer do a feasibility study on replacement versus reskinning the building. So we
Yeah.
have that somewhere.
Yeah. I think it's a full replacement. I think that's what the plan is. But I also know that there's several firms beating us, knocking on our door, not beating us, knocking on our door to be
Put a
qualified
bid in.
for this. So that's what this is putting out for. So,
Yeah.
any other discussion? Oh, I know. We've already spoken about it. Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. I have 3 additional things to bring up quickly with the board's permission, if that's all right. The first, we are looking to, as we were talking through all of our grants, we realized that we haven't officially approved anyone to take on the Snow Street water main water project. So we're looking for a motion to approve the proposal submitted by MRB for the Snow Street water project.
Motion.
Second.
Ben? Second, Brian. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Dave, what's the timetable on that? What's the timetable on that project?
Snow Street.
Hopefully the coming year. It
Great.
should not take that long once we start. Got to engineer it first though.
So
Alright.
you're saying 2018?
Yes. Just like with the other job though, it all depends on who the contractor is.
Right.
Well, we understand.
Right.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. The second thing is there is a Restore New York grant, which is the basic principle is that and Mark as town supervisor, we've talked about this. Is this grant basically is set up so that you can target buildings and renovate them and get them back working in a sense. It's a pretty basic version of it. Mark and I talked, and the one building that made the most sense for this grant was the Civic Here building, with their theater up there and all the work that they've done on this.
The wood block.
What's that?
The wood block?
The wood block, yeah. And now they own, Civic Here owns the building. They've been doing engineering plans. They have a lot of ideas. So we thought that this, and I think the village or town can only recommend 1 or 2, but only one property could eventually qualify. They are working with LaBerge, and they're looking to put in whatever report they would have to. The expense of that, is it a report? Is it a study? I don't know. It's the $10,000.
Restore New York grant application.
Okay. So the question to you, and I really don't have an opinion, so I'm interested to see what you guys have to say, is do you think that the village can contribute some money to this to help them with the $10,000 cost of going for this big grant? Do you want to speak on behalf of, has the town had any considerations about this? Do you want to speak to that at all? 'Cause I know your board meeting's tomorrow.
Yeah, they're gonna have the opportunity to vote, we have $5,000 in economic development funds. We're gonna ask the board to vote if they would put that towards the cost of the application.
Okay.
It's certainly, it's a project that's ready to go, they're in excellent condition as far as being ready to move forward on this, engineering studies done, now they've acquired the building.
Yeah.
So,
Is that $10,000 cost a fee that New York State is charging, or is that what LaBerge is charging?
LaBerge is charging to submit the grant proposal. I think I believe what they're talking about is $1 million, going for $1 million. 10% match is involved in that.
That's the 10,000.
No.
No.
The match would be.
No, that's.
Or it would be so 100,000.
Oh, I
So
see.
they would be doing some
Okay.
fundraising as well.
10 goes to LaBerge.
All right. I know in our economic development fund we have around 10,000. I think Denise said. I asked her today about it, and there's also a separate cities. What's that account called? The cities. Small cities. Thank you. Account, which is not. That's a bunch of previous grants, and I think HUD money is not like a taxpayer money coming in. It's just it's there, but that's got around 100,000 in it. In case you had questions on money for it. I don't really. I mean, I'm really interested to see what your thoughts are on this. So.
So is this being thought of that we're gonna put up 5,000, the town's gonna put up 5,000? And how much is Civicure gonna put up?
That's.
They're gonna be
that's the
working
question.
toward the 100,000.
Yeah.
So if they get the grant, it's it's a $900,000 award with a $100,000 match from
Okay.
them.
Yeah. But it's.
I still don't see any outlay from, I don't see any outlay from Civicure or whoever's gonna have that building on.
So Jim, my point.
Without any good faith, you know, I would go a third, something, I would not approve it if I've gotta go half and the town's gotta go half.
What?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Trustee Pat on that one.
I don't see any layout from them. They want us to do everything.
Yeah, but I don't
And then
think,
get the grant and then spend another 100,000 they're gonna have to raise, but.
I don't think Civicure is a for-profit operator.
No, they're not.
They're a nonprofit, so they're not really doing this to make a killing or make money for themselves. They're just doing it is to preserve the building and increase the space upstairs as a performance space. So, and in my opinion, I think it's a worthwhile effort, especially when we've had job losses just this week again and all the other problems we've had in this community for the past couple of years. I think moving a direction, something worthwhile in community is a good effort.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think that we should, I mean, I agree, Ben, you know, they have nothing ventured, nothing gained for them, but it's still in our best interest to restore that building, to get more use out of it if we can. It's only the entire community is going to benefit from it. And again, it's only if, I mean, the $100,000 that has to be raised, you said, Mark, will be expected to come from Civicure, correct? Right. So, I mean, if we can get $1 million and our investment's $5,000, I don't think that's bad investment.
I think Civicure is doing remarkable work with that building. I agree. I mean, I think really where I will raise an objection is I'm not a fan of LaBerge. I don't like the way they operate. I think that 10,000 is a little high for them, and I don't know if there's other firms out there that would charge a different fee, but that's just my distaste for LaBerge in general. And I'm not comfortable giving them money. I guess I'm more comfortable helping Civicure, and it's kind of a, I guess, hold my nose and swallow the pill if that's the case here.
Would you guys be more comfortable with a smaller amount? I mean, it's just anything's on the table. I'm sort of throwing this out there for you guys. If you're not comfortable with anything, that's fine.
Can we hold them this a month, or do they need to know
No.
right now?
Well, I don't. When is this due?
Letter of intent has to be sent in this week.
But the money doesn't have to be
Friday.
sent in.
No, just letter of intent.
So we could hold off on this.
I'm okay with the 5,000.
Have a motion, is that what if we
If you guys
Still
want to
discussion,
motion to put this off to next meeting, move to give them 5,000 towards this, it's or a different amount. It's up to you guys. My apologies for not giving you a heads up on this earlier.
And of course, no one from Civicure is, I know, I saw the correspondence, but no one's here to.
If you feel more comfortable with it, we could put it off. I don't think they have to have the 10,000 in right now.
I mean, that's all so do they need support from us other than the monetary support at this time for the letter of intent, or no?
And the letter of intent, I believe they need the mayor to sign it.
So can we do that, authorize the?
That's not tied, I don't think.
That's not tied to the funding.
Okay, so
I,
right.
I would be all about signing that.
Okay,
so.
well, that's all. Make sure we're not holding up that as far as that part, but.
I think it sounds like we should put this off till the next meeting. Just based on what I'm hearing and get some more information from Civic here.
And even if they came and are they? Yeah, I'm sure they're not. If they didn't come here, they're not going to come to your meeting tomorrow night as well. But maybe we could have them come and give us a little spiel next
Certainly
month.
do
I mean, then it would be more easier to swallow if you had justification what their intentions were and what.
Well, they have an open house coming up on the 28th, maybe?
No, I understand that, but they should come. I think we should probably ask someone to come here.
So in the meantime, can we offer our support?
Oh yeah, that's what I'm asking. I definitely.
Yeah, I'll
in
definitely
favor of
sign
offering
off on whatever
support.
they need for the letter of
The point I
intent.
was trying to make about the open house they're having is that I believe they're going to be opening up as much of the building as they can, and we'll have as much explanation on what their plans are with the building.
When did you say that is? November 8th?
I got an email.
No, I think it's at the end of this.
Oh, I thought you said the 8th.
October.
28th?
28th? Is that a
It's
Thursday night?
October 28th
That's
at
trunk
2
or treat.
p.m. It's
Oh.
Saturday, October 28th, 2 p.m. A ribbon cutting.
Oh, right, yes, we did
Yep.
get the
Okay.
invitation. Thank you.
All right.
I guess the other thing I just want to add is that we, and again, I personally, in a way rather see the money even go to Civicure, but in this case, if they fill out this grant application, or Store New York, and they don't get the grant, LaBerge will drive off in their Volvos with $10,000 more in their pocket. Well, and that's what he drove up here with.
Can you say that about any engineering company?
But I also, LaBerge, I can get into some of the, yeah. I think there's some that have good intentions and others that don't. I'll leave it as that.
I mean,
But-
we've garnered plenty of money from the Verge, from the town, I know, for the swimming pool and other things. I don't think they're here to back the Brinks truck up and take all our money.
No.
And I know they've been very successful, lots of community projects.
That's the issue. That's the biggest issue I have with it, Brian, is that if you don't have an engineer file the paperwork and fill out the application, you're just wasting your time to even go through the process.
I'm just saying they're just putting out.
Oh, right. I'm sure there's
full
other
disclosure.
engineering firms,
There's
but-
other firms that are, I think, more genuinely invested in wanting to help, and that's my take on that.
So content to move this till next meeting? Do we need a motion to table or just move on?
Table it.
Motion to table it?
But can we make a motion to authorize you to go ahead and sign
Yes.
in support of the?
Is that your motion?
Yes, please.
All right. Motion by Bobby for me to sign it. Second, need a second?
A second.
Brian, thank you.
And someone will follow up with them to try to
do that.
have something set up for next month so we
Yep.
can see them.
Yep, certainly. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great.
Oh.
And a quick motion to table that until next meeting as well, please.
Motion.
Thank you, Ben. Second, Bob Downing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. On one final resolution, and I have thankfully called on my deputy mayor to read this because if I read it, I would be in tears. So, Bobby, take it away, please.
Okay. I'd like to offer a resolution recognizing John Patterson on the occasion of his retirement after 37 years of service to the village of Hoosick Falls. Whereas it is from time to time the joyous duty of the legislative body to recognize the significant contributions of those who have served our community so well, and whereas the Village of Hoosick Falls Board of Trustees wishes to recognize the service of Village Attorney John Patterson, and whereas John Patterson began working for the Village of Hoosick Falls as a municipal attorney in 1980, serving the village for 37 years, and whereas John Patterson served, guided, and assisted 6 mayors during his time as village attorney: Mayor Don Bogardus, Mayor Bernie Graney, Mayor Laura Reynolds, Mayor Matt Monahan, Mayor Dave Borge, and Mayor Robert Allen. And whereas John Patterson has consistently provided sound and wise counsel on which the village has relied and through which the village and its residents have benefited. And whereas after a long, successful career, John Patterson is retiring from practicing law and plans to spend time with his family, no doubt offering them the same excellence, assistance, wit, and friendship he has offered the village of Hoosick Falls. Be it resolved that the Village of Hoosick Falls Board of Trustees pauses in its deliberations and recognizes John Patterson and thanks him for his many years of dedicated service to the people of the Village of Hoosick Falls, and wishes him the best of luck in his retirement and all of his future endeavors. And be it further resolved that the village clerk be and hereby is directed to forward a copy of this resolution suitably engrossed to John Patterson. The foregoing resolution was duly put to roll call vote as follows.
John?
Yes.
Bobby?
Yes.
Yes.
With much regret.
Yes, with regrets.
Mayor?
Yes. Thank you.
Wow.
John?
That's very nice. Thank you very much. That's very much appreciated and totally unexpected. It's been a pleasure to be here. I've made so many friends down here, renewed acquaintances of friends that I've had for many years because, as you know, my uncle's farm was right across the river. I'm going to miss you guys. I feel like you're family, and I wish you all the very, very best. And if there's anything ever that you folks need from me, all you have to do is call. I'll be very happy to help out in any capacity that you need me. God bless all of you, and I really wish all the best for this village. It's a great place to be. It's a great place to live. It's a great place to raise a family, and I know that future generations will thank all of you for your hard work and your dedication to the village. God bless you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Everyone's encouraged to shake John's hand as we head out here. And looking for a motion to go into executive session to discuss current pending litigation with no additional business after closing executive session.
Motion.
Ben? Downing, any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.